And welcome back to Beat Goblin. The thing I've been wanting to try for ages is not the MPC-1 itself, I've obviously had that for quite a while, but a technique or a method that has been on the ideas list for ages. So follow me on this train of thought all the way to the station and tell me if this makes any sense. So a lot of making hip-hop beats, especially hip-hop, involves sampling, flipping samples from songs. And that is a very well-established art form, but if you want to release a track commercially, you have to get that sample cleared with the original copyright holders of the thing you're sampling. And bedroom producers don't always have the ability to do that. There are things like TrackLib that give you access to a library of stuff that you can get cleared, and I've worked with them in the past, but even so, that's a fairly limited library, and it still is a slight pain in the butt to go through all the steps to make sure you're reporting revenue and all that kind of stuff. So then my mind goes to, well, hey, you could flip samples that are royalty-free, stuff you might get from Splice, because that's just guaranteed to be good to go, and you don't have to do anything extra, but then other people have almost certainly used those samples, and it could even be kind of recognizable, which that's absolutely fine. But hey, I want something more unique. So what do? I could pay musicians to just kind of riff or play some stuff, and then I could build beats around that. Now, this does get a little bit into some dangerously lazy territory if you do it wrong, because in my case, I hired some musicians on Fiverr and asked them to just play something in a slightly jazzy style at, say, 70 to 90 BPM. Just come up with something, some little loops, and no pressure to make anything amazing. Just make something. And to be very clear, these were people who offered to do compositional stuff. I didn't ask people to come up with something when that wasn't in the purview of the gig. I asked people who volunteered to come up with guitar parts, and they were down. I asked before I bought the gig. They were super down, and so they provided me with some short loops. I'm going to link both of the gigs of the guitarists who helped me out with this. They made this idea possible, and I think made it quite good. But the temptation is, okay, I have this loop and it's nice. I'm just going to use it and just build a beat around it. And I actually think that's fine. In my case, I did that for one of the guitar parts that I'm going to show you, and I made that guy a featured artist because he really wrote most of the song for me. Let's be very clear. But then some of the others, I chopped up the parts quite a bit more to do more of a traditional sample flip into a lo-fi beat in this case. So we're going to do some stuff on the MPC-1, some stuff in the DAW. I just think this was kind of an interesting creative exercise to, in a way, remove myself from the songwriter's chair, but then use something that no one else has access to other than a couple of my producer friends to build up a track and just do production. Less composition, more just production. Once again, it's an interesting idea I've been thinking about trying for a while, and I thought it was fun, but you might disagree, so that's fine. Let's get into the beats. The first couple of beats I'm going to show you I made on the MPC-1. This one is by far the most sample flippy, I suppose, where I really chopped up the original guitar parts and turned it into something else that I kind of heard a little melody that I could turn it into. So here's the beat. So I've got all these different chops, because a lot of it was doing a bit of light retiming. I pitched it down one semitone, and I've turned it into the melody that I kind of heard in my head when I first heard the part. And I've played around with the meter of the original a bit. So here's what it sounded like originally. And this is exactly what I asked for. I asked the guy to just play something noodly, just kind of take it wherever he felt like, and then I took it upon myself to basically hookify it. So, like I said, I pitched it down a semitone and then turned it into this hook. Very simple drums. But there's some nice little percussive bits that I probably should have turned up a bit so they cut through the mix. I just loaded in like a bunch of Foley and sound effects. So it's a simple beat, but hopefully it has some nice kind of texture to it. Plus these little crunchy bits. So if I can figure out a chord progression, I'll probably take that one a bit farther. For this one, I did figure out a chord progression, but as you can tell by my use of clips, I did not do any sample chopping on this one. We start to get into lazy producer territory where I just basically build a song around the loop I was already given. So this is like me not being the primary songwriter of this song. And I want to be very clear about that. I'm not trying to pretend I made the entire thing when I just didn't. But it gave me something to work on when I was going through a bit of a creative drought. I was low on ideas, and so I was able to enlist the help of someone else to be a paid, admittedly, collaborator. And that was nice. So here's that. Very, very lo-fi beats to study to territory with a slight kind of space vibes twist, aka the Gabe Miller classic when it comes to lo-fi. And this was just a really pleasant thing to put together. I mean, it was easy. It was made easy by a lovely guitar part. Once again, I've linked both guitarists in the description. Very simple drums. That little spring reverb cross stick is from my $5 sample pack. Link in the description. Helps me pay musicians to make my music for me. Drew a patch. And this didn't quite work, I think, especially because of the delay. It didn't quite work with the guitar part. But then it kind of spins off into its own little section, as you saw at the end of that little jam, which is cool. Now, this patch is just... I think I've used this patch a few times at this point. So I just had to figure out a chord progression that worked, once again, building it around that guitar part. Very simple bass. Just anchoring the chord progression. And this other patch is a modified Jura patch as well. With the octaves function of the reverb turned way up. And that's what it sounded like originally. Granulator, because I'm me and I can't help myself. Here are my settings. Duck to the kick a little bit. Same with the bass. And finally, this little very, very simple melody is meant to kind of dance around the main guitar loop. And stay out of its way. So, altogether, kind of perfect for this channel, because this channel is all about having just a chill time making beats, sometimes out of other source material, and this scratched that itch for me. Now, for the beat that you heard in the intro, let's move to the DAW. And this is simultaneously the lowest and highest effort, because like the second beat, I basically just built a track around a guitar loop that someone made for me. And that someone made like really pretty. And so it's like, I don't want to chop this up. It's too good. And then it's the highest effort because I spent the most time turning this into a full song that's out on all the streaming services. And like I mentioned, the guy is credited as a like co-artist because he was a co-artist on this. So let me show you the processing that I have done to the guitar. Also, my original plan was to do this on the MPC-1, but I was like in a cafe and I was like, I have some time to work on music on my laptop. And so then I got carried away. Some EQ. Got some lows. Spaced out. Our old pal. Bit more EQ. After the fact. Basically all the processing I've done to it. And then I have an alternate version for this little kind of breakdown thing with extra reverby chords, so they become a little more sustained. The rest is all me, baby. But once again, didn't do a lot of composition for this one. So let's look at some drums. This is using a free plugin, BT Dubs. I know it says Machine 2 because that was the thing I started with. And then I went, nah, and used Satala, which is a free, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Satala? It's got to be Satala, right? It's a free drum sampler plugin that I just need something to do drum sampling in Reaper, and it's pretty good. So this kick and snare are modified versions of, I believe, stuff from Mondo Loops. That's why I have them marked here so I don't accidentally include them in a sample pack or something, because they're not mine. I just modified them a bit to make them sound the way I wanted them to. And then these kind of drum kit played with brushes, hi-hats, and cymbal. In addition to that stuff, I have just a few Foley sounds that I'm using for little bits of percussion. So stuff like... And this is one of those sounds that's been through so many iterations that I don't fully remember like how I made it. It's a few different sound effects that I recorded myself that have been time stretched and layered and reverbed, and then time stretched and layered and reverbed again, if I recall correctly. There's like a coin dropping in there. There's paper rustling. And it goes very nicely with that cross stick. Same with this water splash. Couple of different sounds. There's that, like, it's kind of a bone crunching sound. It's a little bit gross in isolation. And a reversed version of the cymbal for a little lead in to this first section. I've also made sure to have that extra lead in before the first downbeat hits. I've made sure that that's audible every time because it really goes a long way towards keeping the organic kind of loose nature of this beat. And I've definitely just very meticulously scooted these drums around. I didn't use like any swing quantization. I just moved stuff around by ear until it fit within the kind of pocket that the guitar loop has created. Kind of a fun way to work, although very iterative. Very simple bass. Just a sear and patch. And then duck is being triggered by this kick track. And then you thought you were going to escape Jura just because I'm in the DAW? Nope. I should mention, I don't take money from Akai. I paid for this plugin with my own money. It's what I had, and I think it sounds nice, so I'm using it. Crystallizer by Sound Toys. Bit of ducking. That's not in a section with a kick, so here's a section with a kick. Try to keep it subtle. Gabe Miller keeps sidechain subtle challenge. Impossible. In addition to these chords on this bass, I have another little layer doing the bass part of this little brass element. Kind of John Carpenter-esque. I really like the merger of like kind of classic synthwave with lo-fi elements. I think it's not done nearly enough. I didn't invent it, but it's become part of my sound when I make beats like this. Another Jura patch. Spaced out on it. That just floats over the top. A very simple little lead, providing some extra harmony. And layered with that, I think it's another Jura patch. Yeah. Going through an Epsom. Which, if it's not washed out, sounds kind of gross. In context, I think it really works. If you you'd like some more laid-back beat making, I've got you covered with this video up over here. And if you'd like to see me flip some samples that I definitely couldn't get cleared, you can check out this video down over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit.